Graceland Cemetery is home to Marshall Field, Ernie Banks, and other famous Chicagoans, but a new book is sharing stories of some of the notable city figures you may not know much about.
Adam Seltzer is the author of Graceland Cemetery, Chicago Stories, Symbols, and Secrets, and he joins us now. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, so this is, I guess, a way of bringing history to life instead of just reading it in a book. You take people.
Oh, it is a book.
yeah, we're sure. But when one is doing a tour, why do they want to see the grave of George Pullman?
Why they want to see George Pullman's grave is a little unclear to me. Well, there's some interesting urban legends about Pullman's grave. They say that he was buried in 10 feet of cement, steel, and railroad ties so that nobody could hold his bones for ransom later on. Exactly how true that is kind of an open question. I think the family probably just told the newspapers to say that in case anybody was getting any ideas.
Let's talk about John Jones. He is a pivotal person in Chicago's history especially in terms of civil rights. Not a lot of people know a lot about him at 88 Dearborn Street. What about his grave did you find interesting?
About John Jones's grave is one of the things that's interesting is the people buried around him. He owned the plot next to it as well. Lloyd Garrison Wheeler, the first black lawyer in Illinois, is buried right next to him, though he doesn't have a marker yet. We're working on that.
And talk about who Jones was.
Well, John Jones was the first black man in Chicago to get rich. He ran a cleaning and tailoring shop and also would take out ads in Frederick Douglass's newspaper saying, if you escape, get to Chicago and I'll help you out. He and Frederick Douglass went out to D.C. to lobby Andrew Johnson to support black voting rights. Johnson made a complete fool of himself. It's a really good thing that guy didn't have Twitter.
You also write about the girl in the glass box, which is probably one of the most famous monuments in Graceland. What did you learn about that?
Sure, Inez. I was able to fill in a few more details about her background. It's a beautiful statue of a girl encased in a glass box. There's been a lot of urban legends about her over the years. And she died when she was just young, so it's hard to find real data about her. But I found her mother's divorce records in the legal archives. That filled in at least a lot of stories about her background for me.
And she was killed by a light.
The urban legend is she died in a lightning storm. She actually died of diphtheria. We should really let her mother off the hook for the lightning storm story.
Yeah.
And let's see, the next one on our list is the Graves Monument.
Oh, yeah, Eternal Silence by the sculptor Laredo Taft. Henry Graves was a racehorse breeder. He put aside something like $250,000 in 1907 money in his will for a family monument. He specifically said he wanted the most substantial and imposing that the funds set aside will allow, so he got that. Though really, that's about probably only cost about a tenth what he put aside for it. There's kind of a mystery of what happened to the other $225,000.
Huh.
Oh. Potter Palmer's mausoleum. So there's been stories about people going in there and feeling different somehow. How?
Oh, sure. Well, I think that just happens in cemeteries.
Yeah.
You know, our brains can kind of play tricks on us. Yeah. We're surrounded by all these monuments and reminders of mortality. Our brains are just kind of predisposed to imagine that we're being haunted when we're walking around in these places.
The next one is Martin Ryerson.
And Martin Ryerson has an interesting mausoleum that I wish I could have showed you the inside of. He's got this mausoleum designed by Louis Sullivan, though it's totally atypical of Sullivan's style. He was a lumber trader who came in from the wilderness, really. On the inside of it, there's a big spooky bust of him on top of the sarcophagus that I wish I could show you guys. Certain things I just couldn't show in the book.
And then there's also Richard Theodore Greener, who was the first African-American to graduate from Harvard.
Right. He's in a plot with his some extended family of his, the Platts, who owned a lumber yard. They didn't get quite as rich as some of the white people who owned lumber yards in Chicago, but they did all right.
Well, you can get more information at adamchicago.com, Mysterious Chicago on Facebook, and you can follow Adam on Instagram. Thank you.
Tours all through October. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Adam.